Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Pen Fan series. In this series, we ask 3 fountain pen related questions to penfluencers or people that have fountain pens, and they will answer them as honestly as possible. If you don't want to miss out on a video of this series, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel now. In this episode, we're going to have a look at 3 fountain pen related questions asked to Michael Jecks. He's actually a real famous people with his own Wikipedia page, so that's really cool. He's a writer of historical mystery novels. If you know his books, that's great. Otherwise, make sure to check them out, but only do that after you watched this video.
Hello and welcome to Writerlywitterings, and thank you to Appelboom Pennen for inviting me to get involved in this. What is my top tip for someone using fountain pens? Well, my top tip is based on the fact that I have a number of pens and they tend to have larger nibs and they're gushers. Whether they're Pennen, whether they're Conway Stewart, whether they're Visconti, they put a lot of ink down. And what I find is it's very easy to do that simple error and smear ink all over the pages and your hands and everywhere else, which is not ideal. So I recommend blotters. I've got one that's on my big desk over there, which is huge. It's an A2 blotter, and you'll see it on any of my videos because it's the background, and it's covered in ink, and it's been used for 35 years now, I think. But it is just a lifesaver because when you're writing an entire sheet of paper, an A4 or something, you can just turn the page over and carry on writing on the back. What I also have is this, though, which is a little rocking blotter. And this means that if I'm typing up a letter and just want to put a signature or a dear Mr. Appelboom, then I will write the top or the bottom and then just use this. It goes onto the paper, you rock it over the signature and it soaks up all the ink on the blotting paper. Incredibly handy, and it saves an awful lot of mess. So that's my first tip, is whatever you're doing, use a blotter, whether it's a desktop blotter, a sheet of blotting paper on your desk, or if it's a rocker blotter like this, one or the other or both is going to be really handy. How did I get into fountain pens? I've always been into fountain pens. When I was at school, I did use a Parker biro. I never liked it. I always found that if I'm using a rollerball or a ballpoint pen, my writing looks a mess, an absolute mess. It looks like a drunken spider has climbed into a bottle of ink and then crawled all over my desk. It's a horrible mess. I discovered very quickly that if you use a fountain pen, your writing doesn't improve, but it just looks a bit nicer. So that was the first thing, and then I discovered that you had all kinds of different ink. Personally, I'm still very keen on Prussian blue. I think Prussian blue, okay, blue black as well, they're both lovely, but Prussian blue just appeals to me. But every now and again, I want something a bit brighter, and more recently, I've discovered sheening inks like KWZ, Baltic Memories. I really like paler inks, so I've got Ackermann Delft's Blau here, which is gorgeous. I sometimes want a darker ink, and a teal like Israel Seeblau is just gorgeous. And I do love these bottles too. The question really is not why I got into fountain pens, it's why other people aren't into fountain pens. How do I use my pens in my daily life? They are always here in my shirt pocket, and I use them every day for taking notes. I've got on my desk here now, I can 6 notebooks, and all day, because I'm a novelist, I'm making notes about ideas that occur to me. They can be funny scenes, they can be bits of conversation I hear, snippets of conversation, and I'll always note them down. Agatha Christie used to do it in exactly the same way. She would have a huge number of notebooks and she'd scribble notes in whichever notebook was to hand at that time. And I sometimes use a pencil. I always have a pencil to hand. But most of the time I use my fountain pens. Why? I find it's a lot easier to read my writing afterwards if I do it in a fountain pen. So while I'm writing, I'll use a fountain pen to make notes. I will look at different scenes. I will make notes on characterization, how people look, how they behave, how they talk. I will make notes on conversations I overhear. I'll make notes on feelings as I have. Whatever it might be, all of those will be written down carefully in my fountain pen. I just use them all day, every day. The only thing I don't do is write my books with a fountain pen. I just find that it's a lot faster to write them with a keyboard, and being a writer, I am always working against tight deadlines. So there you go. I hope that was interesting. Thanks a lot for watching, and thank you very much to Appelboom Pennen for asking me to get involved. Thanks a lot.